A courtroom opportunity. Hitler's trial for treason. In late 1923, Adolf Hitler's political ambitions appeared crushed after the failure of his attempted coup, known as the Beer Hall Putsch, in which he tried to overthrow the Weimar Republic. Arrested and charged with high treason, Hitler faced the possibility of a long prison sentence that could end his public life before it truly began. Yet, Hitler saw the upcoming trial not as an end, but as an opportunity, a platform from which he could turn his failure into a calculated success. The setting of the trial began on February 26, 1924, held in Munich at the Blutenbergstrasse Infantry School. Recognizing that correspondents from across Germany and beyond were gathering in Munich to report on the proceedings, Hitler seized the moment. He was determined to use the court as a stage, not merely to defend himself, but to propagate his ideas and lift his name beyond the borders of Bavaria and even Germany. Hitler shared the courtroom with other prominent figures implicated in the coup, including General Erich Ludendorff, a celebrated World War I figure who had joined him in the putsch. While Ludendorff's military reputation made him the most famous among the defendants, Hitler quickly made himself the focal point. His charismatic, intense speeches overshadowed all others, impressing onlookers and journalists alike with his powerful rhetoric and fervent nationalism. A conveniently lenient judiciary, Hitler's ability to dominate the trial was aided by a sympathetic judiciary. Franz Gärtner, the Bavarian Minister of Justice, had quietly ensured that the court would show Hitler leniency, allowing him to speak freely, often interrupting proceedings to cross-examine witnesses or deliver extended speeches. Hitler's opening statement alone stretched to 4 hours, and it was only the beginning of his long orations. The tone of his defense was bold and unapologetic. Unlike those who, during earlier political trials, had denied knowledge or responsibility, Hitler took full ownership of his actions. He didn't view his actions as criminal. Rather, he framed himself as a patriot, claiming, "If today I stand here as a revolutionary, it is as a revolutionary against the revolution." In Hitler's view, the real traitors were the leaders of the 1918 revolution that had created the Weimar Republic. Turning the tables on his accusers, Hitler's strategy was to implicate his Bavarian co-conspirators in the plot, particularly the government figures who had encouraged him. He argued that his goals had mirrored those of Bavarian leaders, including Gustav von Kahr, Otto von Lärzow, and Hans Ritter von Seisser. These men had all privately expressed disdain for the Weimar government and even shared ambitions to remove it. The only difference, Hitler insisted, was that he had acted while they wavered. During the trial, Hitler directly addressed the trio's hypocrisy. "One thing was certain," he declared, "Lärzow, Kahr, and Seisser had the same goal that we had, to get rid of the right government." Kahr and Seisser struggled to defend themselves under Hitler's verbal assault, but General von Lärzow attempted to stand his ground. He derided Hitler as an unemployed upstart and reminded the court of his own higher social and military standing. But Hitler's charisma and rhetorical skill had already captured the courtroom's attention. He painted his accusers as weak, spineless men, shifting public sympathy in his favor. A leader's vision. Throughout his speeches, Hitler spoke with grand aspirations, elevating himself from a local political agitator to a man on a fateful mission. He dismissed the notion that he sought personal power or a simple ministerial role in the government. His goal, he proclaimed, was loftier than mere political office. It was to reshape Germany and destroy Marxism. To illustrate his vision of destiny, Hitler invoked the life of the famed composer Richard Wagner, saying that titles were meaningless for a man destined for greatness. He identified himself as such a man, not merely a drummer for a movement, but a future leader of the German people. Fencing with the judges, though he was facing charges of high treason, Hitler's confidence did not waver. Instead, he expressed pride in his actions, and even predicted a future in which his movement and the German military would be united. "I believe that the hour will come," he asserted, "when the masses who today stand in the street with our swastika banner will unite with those who fired upon them." His audacity shocked the judges, but their mild reprimands did little to rein in his rhetoric. In a fiery closing statement, Hitler declared that history, not the judges, would be his true judge. The real court, he argued, would weigh his actions in the context of German patriotism. His only crime, in his view, was his willingness to fight for the future of Germany, and he believed that history would exonerate him. The sentencing and its aftermath. Though Hitler was found guilty, the court imposed a relatively light sentence. Despite the clear provisions of German law that demanded severe penalties for those convicted of treason, Hitler received only 5 years in Landsberg prison with the possibility of parole after 6 months. This leniency reinforced the perception that Germany's judicial system was sympathetic to right-wing extremists, particularly those who opposed the Weimar Republic. On December 20, 1924, after serving just 9 months, Hitler was released. Far from being a broken man, he emerged more determined than ever, having transformed his imprisonment into a period of ideological reflection and planning. During his time in Landsberg, he had dictated Mein Kampf to his loyal associate Rudolf Hess, laying out his ideas for the future of Germany and his path to power. The failed putsch and subsequent trial had not crushed Hitler's ambitions, but had instead brought him fame and followers across Germany. In the years that followed, Hitler would continue to reference the putsch as a formative moment, immortalizing the men who died during it and building a narrative around his sacrifice and commitment to the German nation. Each year on the anniversary of the putsch, he would return to the Beer Hall in Munich to celebrate what Nazi propaganda dubbed the martyrs of the movement. The trial, far from ruining Hitler, had set him on the path to becoming the most infamous dictator of the 20th century.